You're looking into a barn-style wedding venue. What do you need to know? Is the bridal suite temperature controlled? Where is the ceremony being held? How is the audio handled for the ceremony, cocktail hour, and reception? If there's a tent, does it have sidewalls and heat? Are the restrooms nice? And so much more. Let's talk to the barn at Adams Acres. Welcome to the Wedding Planning Experts podcast, hosted by Dan and Andrea DeWard, owners of Full Circle Weddings. After 25 years in the wedding industry, owning and operating multiple wedding venues, hosting hundreds of ceremonies and receptions, we provide tips to help brides and grooms plan their weddings stress-free and on budget. So let's dive in and talk about all things weddings. Well, Bob and Dana, welcome to the Wedding Planning Experts podcast. We're happy to have you here, and we're excited to talk about your venue and learn a little bit about you guys, so welcome.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started with your venue?
We bought a property, and the first time I looked at it, I said, honey, we can get married here. And we did that. And we've got 5 daughters, and 3 of them got married there within like 26 months. And the phone started ringing. We went to the township and got all the approvals necessary, and we opened our venue to the public in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So to clarify, yours was the first wedding there?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then after your wedding, your 3 daughters were married at the same location?
Yes.
Can you share some of your details about your venue, your location, capacity?
Yeah, we're in Belding, right on Belding Road. The venue, we're open seasonally, May through September. Ideally for weddings, the guest count around 150-ish. Corporate events or fundraisers, we can go almost to 300.
Approximately how many weddings do you do a year then?
I would say approximately 20. The year after COVID, so 2021, we had over 40 some events, and probably I think 32 of those were weddings.
I think we're closing in on our 150th wedding now this year.
How many of those, are ceremony and reception versus reception only? I'm guessing a majority of yours, based on your location and what I know of it, you probably do a lot of ceremony and reception.
Yeah, I would say 98% of them.
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 a year if they have a special connection to a certain church that they want to have the ceremony at, but most of the time they do it in our loft.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. You mentioned the loft right there. Talk about your ceremony floor. You have a separate dedicated area for the ceremony. Maybe talk about that a little bit, where it's located. And
the first time I looked up there, the old rafters in the barn reminded me of a church cathedral.
And that's in the upper loft space of the barn.
It's just beautiful up there, and the acoustics are amazing. That's where we do the ceremonies up there. We have old church pews that we got from a church in Holland that was converting to chairs. And so it is just like a church in the barn. If we have guests that can't navigate the stairs, or if guests show up late, we do have cameras, and we have a lower level that, with the television and the sound system's all tied together. So those people can still see and participate.
Which is nice, because I'm guessing in the barn, there's not an elevator.
No.
So if somebody needs, handicap accessibility or something, they have the ability to watch the ceremony. PA system, you mentioned the acoustics are really good in there. I know you have a background in audio. So have you built in some of that equipment to simplify the process?
Yes. I owned a car stereo shop for 25 years, and audio is kind of a passion of mine. And so when I was building this space, I was continuously looking for ways to improve it. And we were fortunate enough, one of the weddings we had was a gentleman that worked as an audio engineer in Nashville, and he made some suggestions to get me started, and then I've just built from there.
Is that in the ceremony space and also the cocktail and maybe the reception area?
So it's tied through the whole system. So I have a sound system in the loft for the ceremony, then the cocktail area is a sound system, and then also in the tent where we do dinner, I have a sound system out there as well. And they're all interconnected, so we can play from one to the other and kind of make it a seamless experience.
Yeah, it's very convenient.
A lot of the DJs, once they get there and they see the level and the professional quality equipment we're using, it makes their job a lot easier. They don't need to bring extra equipment for the ceremonies, extra equipment for the dinner hour. We've got all that handled. And the DJs that have worked with us, they find that very helpful.
Oh, absolutely. And coming from a DJ background, I know how nice that is, especially if it's good equipment, because one of the worst things that a DJ can do is bring in maybe cheap lapel mics or during the ceremony, the last thing you want is that audio cutting in and out. It's bad for the guest. It's bad for video. So if you have good equipment for that, it makes a world of difference.
If it's tested in the space, you know it's working.
For your clients that are doing their ceremony on site, what do you have available for a bridal suite or a groom's room?
We have a bridal suite upstairs, kind of to the side of the loft. So there's a makeup counter and furniture and stuff in there. We don't have a groom's room because grooms don't take a lot of time to get ready. Yeah. So they just kind of throw on their tie or whatever. We basically just have something for the brides. But it's a pretty big space. And
Guys
so,
are pretty simple.
you know,
We show
they'll-
up, put our tie on.
Yeah. But there's big enough, and there's outlets in there so they can do hair and makeup, and stuff before they get ready.
And that room is climate controlled. There's a mini split system in there, so we can heat or air condition as needed.
Which is really nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Yep. And then at night, if we have some nursing mothers that need to use the room, or if someone has a small child, they can put a little playpen in there or something too to, for them to sleep. So
It is a nice bridal suite. I've seen your bridal suite and it's spacious. And it's nice that it's upstairs in the loft area so they can easily go right into the ceremony.
Yeah, walk
Yeah.
right when it's time for the ceremony. We'll light up the bridesmaids in there and we'll send them down.
Now, are you assisting with that lineup for the processional and recessional yourselves, being the venue owners?
Mhm.
Yeah, we're there to ensure that all that goes smoothly. Depending on the size of the bridal party, a small one will line everybody up in the bridal suite. But a lot of times there's a larger crowd. So then Dana and I work together. We have two-way radios. I'll have the gentlemen all lined up at the base of the stairs, and Dana will have the girls lined up in the bridal suite. And we time it all out perfect.
Which is nice because every venue is different on what they consider a coordinator. Some are just event managers and they're just there to oversee and they're kind of hanging out. They're not really facilitating anything, but you're taking it up a notch. It sounds like you're more of like event coordinators, or kind of like what a day of coordinator might be.
Yeah.
we know our space. We know what works, having had 3 daughters get married there, we know that putting the tent, behind the barn does not work.
Right.
And, the township really wanted us to put the tent behind there, but, we've done events in our space. We know what works best. And so, we kind of fought the township on that and we won. So
Yeah.
Nice. So your ceremony, you'll have your ceremony, then guests will probably flow, because I noticed you had a separate cocktail area. Do they go into that separate cocktail area first and then flow into the tent area?
Exactly. So during the cocktail hour, between the time of the wedding and the dinner, there's usually an hour or so. And the guests will be down the ground level of the barn, and there's a really cool old bar in there. It's made out of a 1960 Dodge pickup. The sound system is in there, and it's like I said, it's tied through the tent. It's wide open to the backyard. There'll be yard games out there. There's whiskey barrel, like cocktail tables out there. So just to have a cool place for everybody to hang out until it's time for dinner.
Do you ever have people want to do their ceremony outdoors versus up in the loft?
Oh yeah.
occasionally we have. Yep. And they've used either the back of the barn as the backdrop, or they've used, kind of the field as the backdrop. So we've done it both ways.
We've got a gazebo out there
Yeah.
made out of an old grain bin. We've had a couple brides want to use that as the altar.
Which is nice. Then you have the backup plan in place too, in case, inclement weather. How about the food and bar process? How is that handled? Are you handling any of that yourselves internally, or is that outsourced with preferred caterers, or what are you doing?
Yeah, we do give our couples a list of preferred caterers. When it comes to food, we pretty much allow any professional catering company to come in. We do work with select bar services just because of the liability when alcohol is involved. We have a couple that we'll work with, and they'll work with that vendor to provide whatever package they're looking for. Some people want just a very simple package when it comes to alcohol, and some want a full bar. And these vendors will accommodate their needs, but they'll contract with them directly.
But guests aren't allowed to bring in their own liquor. They have to go through that licensed caterer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that from a liability perspective.
And unfortunately, it is a liability, and
Every once
this is
in a
our
while.
home. We have
Yeah.
so much on the line.
Every once in a while, someone tries.
Yes,
Sneak
they
it
do.
in.
Not even really sneak it in. Remember that time where someone was praying? Wasn't someone praying or doing a speech, and all of a sudden we heard, Yeah. And then we were dismissing tables, and someone got up to go to the buffet, and he had a fifth, right?
Yeah, in his back
pocket. Yeah.
And every time, once I explain it to the guests, they're fine with it. They got it back at the end of the night. So
we go over the contract with the couple, but they're not breaking it down for all 200 guests.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
It always fascinated me, though, when we owned our venues, we had a similar situation, periodically. It always fascinated me because at a wedding, it's always an open bar.
Yeah.
When those mobile caterers are coming in, it can't be a cash bar. It has to be an open bar. And it's free. So why would somebody want to bring their own liquor in?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
And that caterer that you have doing the bar service, their license is in jeopardy if there's outside alcohol involved on top of what your liability is. So I'm sure they would want to restrict that.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not really a huge issue. Like I said, everybody's been very good about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice that you're present. You're there. That does make a big difference. You being the owners are on site. What's your catering space like? That's always a crucial one for venues is, do they provide ample catering and what amenities might be in that space for the caterers? What's that space like?
So we do have a storage room that we use for ourselves, but then the one end of the storage room, we do have some stainless steel counters in there, commercial grade kitchen type stuff. There's a microwave in there,
commercial refrigerator,
a large double door refrigerator. We have an ice maker on site.
That's huge.
We don't have place for the caterers to clean up or wash up, so they'll have to, they know that coming into us, so they'll take all that stuff back with them,
which is common.
Yeah, but we do take care of all the trash and stuff. We have a dumpster, so they don't have to pack their trash out, at least.
And if I recall, it was an easy access point for the caterer to get into that space.
Yeah, they can pull their vehicle right up to the side door and basically load right in.
Let's talk about tables and chairs. What's that setup like? Are you using round tables or rectangle tables?
We're using the rectangular tables. They're farmhouse tables that we built. We had a bride that came to us and she was going to rent farmhouse tables. And when she told me how much she was going to pay for them, I was, Mariah, that's crazy. And so I spent about 4 months and I made all the tables, and she split the cost of the materials with me about half and saved her some money. And now I have my own tables, and we have the white resin chairs. My crew and I will set everything up the day of. We provide a table layout, computer printout of how it's going to look ahead of time, so they can plan their decorating, and if they're going to do a table seating chart, they'll have all that information.
Which is nice that you're helping with the floor plan too.
Yeah.
Again, you're taking it to another level versus just saying, okay, here you go.
Yeah. And again, we know the space so well, occasionally somebody will come up with an idea and it's like, okay, I see where you're going with this, but this is why it doesn't work like that, especially with timelines and they've never done a wedding, and we're almost 150 in now, so we want the day to just go as smoothly as possible.
Are you seeing a lot of buffet for dinner, buffet style versus plated and family style, things like that?
Yeah, mostly buffet style. Occasionally we'll have somebody, it's been a few years where they'll do a plated dinner. Not a lot of caterers can provide enough manpower to pull that off in a timely fashion. And we've had some caterers that, showed up short staffed, and all of a sudden the dinner serving time when you're trying to do a plated meal, it was over an hour. It's hard to keep food fresh that long by the time they get there.
And that can be a party killer if it drags out too long.
Yeah.
Trying to get people motivated again and lead into dancing is kind of tough sometimes.
So,
well, and they're still eating, at last table.
Well, with buffet then, with you being on site, who's releasing the tables? Are you allotting that to the DJ or?
We're releasing tables.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, with our headsets.
Same thing. So. Dana will be watching the line, and she'll radio me and send another table. And then that's how we do it.
Which is wise, because I've seen it sometimes turn into a free-for-all.
Oh.
Or the parents haven't even gone through yet, and some other tables are going ahead of them.
It happened at my daughter's wedding.
Yeah.
And so after that, I said,
"Oh no, we're going to do this."
Yeah, we're going to do this. So.
And we had another wedding where the mistress of ceremonies' husband pretty much let half the tent go at once.
Yeah.
And
well, and we had discussed this ahead of time within the planning session that we were going to dismiss the tables, but
it was never conveyed to them.
Yeah, and they are very comfortable in front of a microphone because of their positions in the community, and so he just let from here over go, and
the caterer was giving me the death stare.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And we see that often where the bride and groom will sometimes delegate a family member or a great friend. They might be a good public speaker, or they might be very outgoing and organized, but if you don't know weddings, you need that element in order to make those really run smooth. So it's great that you guys are also facilitating that. How about restrooms? That's a big question, especially with your style of venue, more of a barn style venue.
So we've ended up building a custom restroom trailer, air conditioned, running water, fully handicap accessible, changing table.
What did you start out with when you first opened?
Well, we were renting restroom trailers.
Okay, the fancy trailers.
Yeah, we were renting them. Yeah. And at some point, when you rent for so long, it just makes sense to own it. And we were to that point a couple of years ago. And with my construction skills, it's like when I priced them out, it's like I can build something nicer and save myself some money.
Did you do the same thing with the tent, or do you rent the tent?
No, we ended up purchasing the tent. The frame stays up year round. It's all pretty much aluminum construction. The frame of it is, and then the canvas we pull every winter, take it over to Muskegon. They wash it, any minor repairs, and then we contract to have it put back up in the spring.
Does your tent have sidewalls?
Yeah. Yep. They're on a track. They slide open and close just like curtains.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. So we can rapidly open or close it as we need. If wind is coming from a certain direction, we just need to close up part of it. We can do that. So
that's really nice. I do know, depending on tent styles that people select, sometimes those sidewalls, like you just mentioned, can be quickly opened or closed, and some cannot because they're so difficult to get up or down.
Or individual clips, and you have to hang it,
And they're heavy too. Those sections can be very heavy.
Is it on grass, or what do you have it on?
No, we have a concrete patio out there. Makes it nice. The tables are all level. Before, we'd have to shim them up. You can walk right straight from the barn. There's a awning that goes from there. So you're totally covered inside the barn all the way out into the tent. So,
and great for dancing. The dance, it's level, and put those dance floors on grass sometimes, and they're one end's really high and trip hazards. Or
how far out are you booking weddings now?
Rule of thumb is about a year, but I do have some 2027 dates already booked. So this is engagement season, the time of year we're in right now. The phone is ringing. A lot of the prime fall dates, everybody loves September in Michigan. It's not too hot. The sunflowers are all up, and I think our September is full at this point. So
regarding the planning, we talk about this with day of coordinators, wedding planners, event managers, what the differences are. And I see you guys being more of like a day of coordinator almost, because you're really not handling all the other vendors that the bride groups like, but everything within your venue. So what's the process like forward once a couple books with you? Do they get a planning packet with you, or do you just talk over the phone and set up meetings with them periodically?
We'll kind of leave that in the wheelhouse of the couple. They can kind of steer that however they want. I'm very accessible. They all have my cell number. They can text me just about any time, and I'm going to reply no matter where I'm at. On vacation in the Caribbean or Alaska, I've answered my phone. We do have a private group on Facebook for our couples that they can bounce ideas off other couples that have already gotten married at our place too.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of neat. I'll check in there and I'll see conversations going like, hey, who did you use for floral, or who did you use for your cake? And then the past brides are always so helpful. Yeah.
That's a really good idea.
So we'll, once they book with us, then I send them the link, and then they can add other people that are involved with their planning or their day off, so they'll start with the bride and maybe the groom. And then all of a sudden, I've got sisters and mom and grandma, everybody's in the group, for their wedding.
And then you're probably meeting with them 30-ish days, maybe ahead of time to talk about floor plan options and final timeline.
30 days out. Living on site, it is convenient. I work from home as well. I'll get that call midweek. Hey, my aunt's in town. She's helping. Can we stop by? And I try and accommodate them, as much as possible. So
when are you doing rehearsals? Or is that typically Thursday or Friday, depending if you have an event on Friday?
Yeah, exactly.
It's usually Thursday or Friday.
Yep. And occasionally we'll get a Friday wedding. So then we'll have to coordinate 2 rehearsals on Thursday, maybe.
Yeah, back to back. Are they doing rehearsal dinners at your location, or typically
That's an option. Yeah.
Okay. It would be convenient at your location.
Yeah.
That's an option. We've changed things up this year. Now we'll schedule rehearsals like 90 days out. That way it gives them plenty of time to make that plan.
Now, when a couple has an event coming up the day of, what time are they able to access your space as far as, getting ready or any setup or anything?
Usually about 9 a.m.
Okay.
We have done earlier weddings. We had someone that got married at like 10 a.m. And so we opened it up, I think, for 6 o'clock for hairdresser and makeup and that sort of thing.
Okay. And then at the end of the evening, what time is kind of like your shutdown time?
The bar will stop at 11, music by 11:30, but they have till 1 a.m. to finish up
Okay,
their night.
that's a long time.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
plenty of time.
That eliminates the need to come back the next day and pick everything up. We can get everything packed up, and my crew will help with that. We'll end of the night, we'll stack all of their table decorations on one table, so they just have to box up what they bring.
Yeah, and that keeps it really simple. And a side note, I actually have a client I'll be working with at your venue coming up this spring. And one thing I wanted to make a note of, which is really nice from a floral side of it, you have a lot of things available for the bride and groom to use for decoration and at no additional cost. It's just items you have. So that's a really huge perk.
Yeah.
For a couple to be able to have those items available and not have to rent them from somebody else.
A lot of our brides have been real generous. At the end of the night, they're like, I don't want to try and sell all this stuff on Marketplace. Can you use it? And that's how that whole room pretty much got filled with, couples that donated their decorations for us.
Yeah.
And you'll allow them just to use it at no cost.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, well, as parents of 5 daughters, 3 who've gotten married, everything is so expensive. I don't want a nickel and dime.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's $25 for me to put out yard games. I am out here anyway, and so
We're just going to do that.
Yeah. We're just going to do it.
That's huge, because we get a lot of feedback from brides and grooms that one of their pet peeves is getting hit with these miscellaneous fees that they weren't anticipating,
Right.
especially close to the wedding day, and they budgeted so tight for things. So you doing that is really a nice addition.
The only thing that we ever charge extra for would be heat. If it is cold, we're going to charge for the fuel costs, and we have a couple of different heat options. And then if we're going to set up the chairs outside, we do charge a small fee per chair for that, just because it's a lot of extra work to set the chairs up outside, and it inevitably involves extra cleaning at the end because the chairs got grass stains or whatever. So it takes a lot more. So we charge a minimal fee for that to set up the chairs outside and for the heat, and that would be the only extras.
What's the number one tip you could provide to a bride and groom? You guys going through the process, your daughter's going through the process, you're owning your venues. Is there a tip that you would love to provide a bride and groom when they're planning?
I would say vet your vendors and make sure you're getting professionals.
Oh yeah, right down to the officiant.
Yes. And whenever there's a disappointment in the day, it's usually because of the vendor they've hired is not a professional or not prepared or organized. It almost always boils down to that. Now, you don't need to spend a lot of money to get a professional a lot of times. There are some professionals that are budget-minded, but you really need to vet your vendors.
Which I would agree, 100%
Yeah,
agree
that's
with
a
that.
very good tip.
Oh, yeah. We've had some crazy from the DJ that was playing all his music from YouTube. So all the commercials were coming across.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
That's terrible.
Number one, it's illegal.
During the first dance.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
First dance, yeah. Unfortunately, they paid that DJ good money. And they could have for that same amount, they could have gotten a professional. The professionals are used to doing the job. They're used to dealing with things that come up unexpected. They can just keep the night flowing smoothly. And that's the whole goal. So you want everyone to have a good time and something they're going to remember for the rest of their lives as being a positive experience.
So kind of continuing on that topic, are there any funny stories or anything memorable that you've experienced that you could share?
Being hands-on and being involved with the venue like we are. Dana's brother works with us, and we have a couple other gentlemen that work with us. We were about 15 minutes from the wedding, and I was greeting guests, telling them here's the card box, here's the guest book. And one of the groomsmen split his pants, and he didn't split them just a little. He split them literally from his belt buckle all around to the belt loop.
Ooh, that's a pretty good split.
You said groom or groomsman?
Groomsman.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Dirk radioed Dana on the two-way radio and asked if she had some black thread to sew these black pants up. And she's like, well, the wedding's like, now we're 12 minutes. Dirk's like, okay, never mind. I think we've got a solution. And so Dana kind of dropped it for a second. Well, his solution was black duct tape. And that did not work out very well for this gentleman. So in the end, he ended up wearing some of my black underwear.
because the groomsman wasn't wearing underwear.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
my goodness.
Yeah, he was a free spirit that wanted to go commando.
And you definitely don't want to use duct tape.
No,
You're doing that, you don't want to split your
Yeah,
pants.
and he
Oh my
wasn't just
gosh.
commando that night. He had been commando for like 11, 12 years.
Yeah.
He hasn't worn underwear.
so I had no idea this was going on.
Yeah.
After the ceremony, he stood with his legs close, and nobody noticed. Well, before the ceremony, Dana walks up to the bridal suite. The bride's there, shaking. She's nervous, just a lot of energy, and Dana says, "Who's walking with Ben?" And the bride gets livid. She's like, "Is he drunk already?" So evidently Ben's a fun guy, And Dana's like, "No, but he did split his pants and he's wearing Bob's underwear." Everybody started laughing. The bride calmed right down. The shakes were gone. They were all just laughing.
Oh, that's great.
And so he comes up to me after the ceremony during the cocktail hour, and he shakes my hand and says, "Just want to let you know it's a real honor to be wearing your underwear today." That's how I found out about all this.
That is the $1 million question is, did he give them back?
No, I told him they were a gift.
It's a gift.
You
Yes.
could have those. But that's the level of service we
Yeah.
expect.
We're full service.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
You took it to another level.
Yes.
That is a good story right there. And I bet you they're still having fun with that groomsman to this day.
I see the family. In fact, my other duties as Santa Claus, they've now have a little one, and I've seen him the last 2 years, and Ben's name still gets brought up.
That's great. You mentioned it, so I'm going to follow up with it. Santa Claus, the two of you are like the perfect Santa and Mrs. Claus. And I know that, talk about that briefly. We're just getting out of the Christmas season right now, so share a little bit about what you do.
We just finished.
Yeah.
Our wedding season, was a summertime gig, and then a few years ago, I was turning gray, and I put on a Santa hat, and I've been Santa ever since. And we start the day after Thanksgiving as our Santa season starts, and we do the local parades. We set up in the barn this year. I did it again. Got an old sleigh, and we do family visits every 15 minutes. We schedule those. One of the Santas on the Coopersville train, and so yeah.
So you do that right at your venue?
Yeah, we did this year again. Last year we took the year off, and then this year we did it again. We'll set up visits every 15 minutes for families.
We started that during COVID.
Yeah, and then they'll make the appointment, and then they give me all the background information. So when the children walk in, I know their names. I know how old they are. I know what Santa brought them last year. I know if they're doing good in school. So even these kids that are that age where maybe they don't quite believe, I can usually get another year out of them.
Oh, that's
That
so
is
neat.
great.
But the other thing we do is we donate some packages to some charities that are local, like the Bee Foundation in Belding,
Yeah, they
or
raise money.
Cornwall Health Foundation. Then they're Christmas Eve packages. So because we're a blended family, it's hard for all of us to get together on Christmas Eve. So we just do, I think we did 6 home visits this year.
Yeah, on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really neat.
That's
Very
great
special.
you do that. That's what a great give back.
Yeah. So they'll auction off those packages, and sometimes it's a shocking amount of money, but we do a really different kind of a visit. I've got some magic tricks. I've got a naughty and nice meter. I can test everybody and find out who's been naughty and nice.
I better not take that one.
And then it's the dads and the uncles, so you usually have to worry about it. And this year I actually built a vintage walkie-talkie that I can radio the North Pole. And so we can talk to the elves at the North Pole, the cookie department, the toy department.
Yeah.
When Mrs. Claus is not with me, I can radio her at the North Pole all on this radio. So it's pretty fun.
That's a lot of fun. You're making a lot of memories for families for sure. How can brides get a hold of you? If they want to reach out, what's the best way to get a hold of you and maybe share your website?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's weddingbarn.love is our website. We're on Instagram and Facebook, under Adams Acres. That's
The barn at Adams Acre.
Yes, the barn at Adams Acres.
Which is the name of your venue, the barn at Adams Acres. Yeah. And then your website again was
weddingbarn.love.
weddingbarn.love. I like it. I'll add that to our Wedding Planning Experts podcast website so, they can easily link to you.
For sure. Yep. And then the phone number down there is my cell number. They can always text me at that too. So
That's nice working directly with the owners. That makes a big difference.
so many times I'll see complaints like, I can't get a hold of my whatever vendor. And it's like, you don't have their number? That would be a big red flag for me.
Yeah. When Andrea and I owned our venues, we were very hands-on also with our team. And we were always at the events and the weddings, and we stayed sometimes late into the night.
Oh, yes.
And you become friends with these couples, and we're still friends with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now they're
Yeah.
bringing their children to see me as Santa. So
Yeah.
yes, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. You become very close with a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your story and talking about your venue. We really appreciate you having spent the time to come out and talk with us and be on the podcast. And we wish you the very best moving forward.
Us out.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Wedding Planning Experts podcast. If you're listening on an audio platform, you may also view the video podcast at weddingplanningexperts.com.